When we look at the role of science in modern day coaching, in many ways, all science does is reconnect us back to nature. It actually proves that what we knew 50 years ago was actually very, very good for us. So some examples have been something like John Daly knew in the kind of early 1990s to gain distance, something about longer, something about faster, kind of lift that lead hill. So he knew intuitively that was the way they gain length. So we now need science to prove that just something about longer, something about faster, kind of lift that lead hill was good for clubhead speed, but kind of Daly knew this back in the early 90s. Another example then being someone like Lee Trevino. Trevino knew around kind of club delivery, the idea of that kind of 3D flat spot, the idea of that impact interval. He figured out that kind of longer flat spot was perhaps advantageous from a club delivery understanding. Once again, we now need science to prove and validate that what Trevino knew 50 years ago was actually accurate and good for him around club delivery. Equally so, someone like Gary Player, kind of different kind of size shoes when he plays. We now need ground reaction forces and kind of shoe interaction to prove that what Player knew back in the kind of 1950s and 60s was actually very, very good for him. So we actually look at really what science does within, say, golf. Really all science does, the more science evolves, the more actually kind of tells us that nature is very good for us. So the more that science advances, the more it reconnects us back to nature. Equally so, disappointing, we actually now need science to show that kind of nature is very, very good for us. And typically all science does is confirm what we knew kind of 50 years ago. So in many ways, an approach we can start to look at is when we receive external feedback, that really is just information. But when we have internal feedback, that's much more intellect. So once again, external feedback is often information. Internal feedback is much more intuitive intellect. So the more we reconnect with that intuitive internal intellect and then reconnect back to kind of nature, typically all that science does is then validate and confirm that what we actually knew and what we actually think is actually then typically very good for us.